Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
So Caitlin Clark.
Woo, I usually don't stop a video this early. Is it me or did Megyn Kelly, who's about to go hardcore on Caitlin Clark, and I will tell you at the end my opinion on it, she sounds like a mother scolding a child. She sounds like a really upset wife. Megyn Kelly sounds like she is not playing games. Let's get back to Megyn Kelly, obviously on the Megyn Kelly show, going hardcore on WNBA star Caitlin Clark.
We need to talk about Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
So Caitlin Clark of Iowa, but now playing for Indiana in the WNBA, gets honored in time as the athlete of the year. I don't know. I guess they need a lot of covers or something. I mean, whatever. They just want people who are going to sell their shitty magazine. So she gets selected as athlete of the year. And what does Caitlin Clark do? Like this woman who's a superstar. She's the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. And she's become a phenom in part because the players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her. Why? Mm-hmm. Because she's white. It's abject, absolute racism. It's total racism. And one of the things that's been admirable about Caitlin is she just continues to play her game and put points on the board. And she does very well, and she wins games, and she puts butts in the seats, and she sells tickets, and she gets people tuning in on television. And all really we want to hear from anybody about this is thank you. Thank you to Caitlin Clark for making our league relevant and so on. But instead, she's been bullied repeatedly by the players in this league. She's been assaulted physically. She's been scratched in the eye. And I mean, all this is on camera. We've covered it repeatedly on the show. So she gets this honor. And all she has to do is continue staying above it. Thank you. I'm grateful. Love being in the WNBA, and I love my...
That's not enough for the woke mob. And when your job is every single day, that's Caitlin Clark's job I'm going to talk about here. It's easy for me to say, and I agree with Megyn Kelly here, it's easy for us to say that she kind of went the wrong route in bending the knee to the woke mob. She clearly did that. You'll hear that here in a second. But she goes to work every day. Can you imagine? And it's not like an office setting type of work. You go to work every day with some of the gnarliest looking and gnarliest acting, very masculine women in a locker room. And a locker room is not your office environment. In a locker room, stuff happens. In a locker room, things are said. You watch the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, when she first came out, her own teammates weren't helping her. I was watching. Why was I watching? Because of Caitlin Clark. It was a big story. She's fun to watch. She kind of reminds me of Steve Nash, maybe. Almost even a Pete Maravich style. She's a pretty good passer. Early on, I'm going to digress a little bit. Her passing was so good that her teammates weren't ready for the passes. And she got better as the season went on. And she really showed out. And Megyn Kelly saying, why didn't the WNBA thank her? Because the WNBA doesn't exist as a free market entity. It doesn't exist on merit. It only exists as a woke virtue signal in the first place. So Caitlin Clark got the Time magazine cover. And for that, it wasn't an award. It was the opportunity. They didn't give her the magazine cover as an award. They gave her the magazine cover as an opportunity to bend the knee. If she didn't bend the knee, her career would be over in the WNBA, one way or the other. Whether it was an elbow or something else, she was not going to last long. Let's get back to Megyn Kelly finishing off Caitlin Clark, no pun intended.
Colleagues who I played with, my teammates. That's it. Instead, she decides to go racial. And what she says is she feels the need to acknowledge her white privilege. Basically, she's sorry she's white. She feels really bad about it, though, so you should give her a pass. And then she makes a point of saying, the ones we really need to be celebrating are the black women on whose backs this league was built, which I have to tell you is so condescending.
It really
It's
is.
true that most of these black women have been bullying her and want her to understand it's their league. Hello, you don't own the league. Blacks don't own the league, just like whites don't own tennis or golf. Nobody owns the league. This is America. Anybody can play if they're good enough. But they want her on the knee. You'll bend the knee and you'll apologize for being white, and you will suck up to the black women who built this league before you, or you will be beaten. You will be assaulted and you will be bullied with no friends. So she does it. She finally did it. She bent the knee, self-flagellated over white privilege, and look at the black women in this league. And I have to tell you, if I were a black woman in that league, I think I'd say, screw you. Because don't treat me like I am the ugly stepsister and you are Cinderella, and no prince is going to look at me unless Cinderella says, oh, give her a little time. Oh, put her in the spotlight for a moment. I would be offended, genuinely offended by her. Like, look over there. Look at them. They're not white. They did a lot too. And here's the other thing. It's totally insincere. And here's how you know it's totally insincere. Because if Caitlin Clark really felt uncomfortable in the spotlight as the newbie who's white, who's, because white people didn't build the league, she wouldn't have said yes to being Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. So either walk the walk or don't. But what you're doing here is trying to have it both ways. You're too cute by half, and you've managed to piss off your fan base. Go ahead and look at my Twitter feed and the comments under my tweet on this. She's lost thousands of fans, maybe more, as a result of this. And you will never appease the race bullies in the WNBA, ever, because you're too popular, you're too talented, and too white. That's it.
Well, I think you completely nailed it. As soon as I saw that statement from her, I was incensed, because it was only a couple of days earlier I'd been telling Duncan's from Indiana. I was like, wow, I see all these clips of this player you've got. She's amazing. She's done great. And I've been following during the season her getting bullied by all these other players who are jealous of her, who are jealous of her success. And meanwhile, these statistics would come out where all the road games where she plays sell out. They're the best selling games of the season is when she comes to town. And for her to turn around and bend the knee to these people who've been bullying her, like you said, it's never going to be enough.
Here's the worst part about Caitlin Clark getting on the knee and then getting ramrodded by Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly came with a fire. You don't see her come with that. I mean, she's always coming correct, or she's very good, but that was a special type of fire. That was Megyn Kelly saying, don't you dare apologize. And really, Caitlin Clark is trying to represent all white women. That's what that's really about. It's not about the WNBA. She's apologizing for her whiteness in general. And it's really saying that all of those type of women should apologize. But what Caitlin Clark is doing is the same as Eminem, same as R.A. the Rugged Man. R.A. the Rugged Man and I got into it because he went woke on Tim Pool. You might remember that episode. And he is woke because he is in an industry that's known for a certain type of skin color, a certain type of ideology. And if you don't represent it, then you will have more problems than you don't. So that's what Caitlin Clark said. Is I would rather survive, try to have a career, whether it works or not. This is the easiest path. If I try to fight it, we know that's not going to work. If she tries to bend the knee as she has, we don't know if that's even going to work, but it probably will be a better chance. Part of the context here is Caitlin Clark came in the WNBA, and they actually started, I don't know if it was profitable, but they started getting noise. They started getting press. There were even paparazzi following around other WNBA players, and they weren't used to it, which was a good thing. How do you make money if nobody cares who you are? I don't have paparazzi following me. That means I don't make the money like people who do have paparazzi, generally speaking, following them. They started getting chartered jets. They were flying coach before. Why? Because of Caitlin Clark. And this woman with a certain religion, she's straight, she's white. That's everything the opposite of what they are. They don't believe in, not traditionally speaking, the same type of faith. They don't have the same type of skin color, 70% of the league. And they're not straight. So she's got a lot of privilege to atone to stay in the good graces of the WNBA.
It's not just her trying to get these people to like her who've been mean to her. It's her complete betrayal of her fan base. People, like, for years and years, men have been complaining that ESPN doesn't cover sports. They cover critical race theory, and they're sick of it. People watch sports for escapism, to see competition. Caitlin Clark was an inspiration to so many of my friends' daughters. And for her to go out and say something like this, to try to, like you said, being like, oh, no. Black players need me as a white savior to bring them and highlight them. This racist equity system, all it does is divide Americans.
How great would have been if Caitlin Clark came out and said she's a trash talker. So she's really acquiescing. We know this is not her natural self. How great would it have been if she came out and said, I'm Khaleesi. You thought I was going to bend the knee because you gave me the Time magazine article? I'm going to bust threes all night on you like Steph Curry. And I'm the savior of the league. Now, that would have been too much, but, if she would have came out defiant and without trying to sound arrogant, that would have been something special. Stay here. I'm going to tell you why Kathy Barnett, who I'm a big fan of, has the final say on this one, the right final say on this one.
And the result of this election, in large part, was Americans saying, we're tired of that. We've had enough of that. And Caitlin Clark's going right back to that.
And DEI
That's
is
so right.
DEI is a nonsense thing, but can you think of any profession in which it's more nonsense than athletic competition, in which there are statistics and points scored? It's such a preposterous thing to claim somebody has privilege in a competition of athletics. And not to mention the fact of, you would never say something like that about the NBA, where there are hundreds of black superstars paid millions and millions of dollars. And by the way, that NBA subsidizes the entire WNBA. Yeah, right. So, and she's walking around talking about her white privilege. It's insane.
Well, here's the other thing, Duncan. Here's the other question. I don't remember Serena Williams apologizing for her blackness in tennis, which had been dominated mostly by whites. I don't remember Tiger Woods apologizing for his blackness in the PGA, which was dominated by whites. No one would even think of such a thing. They celebrated this new figure in sports who maybe didn't look like all the other figures they knew. They thought it was great. He was to be celebrated. That's how normal people have responded to Caitlin.
Yeah, it's funny. The people who are supposed to be pro-diversity, Caitlin Clark comes into the league and she brings she's different. She's different than 80%, 70% of the athletes there. And they don't celebrate the diversity. She has to bend the knee to be a part of them. They're very they're very exclusionary. They're not inclusionary. And that's what Megyn Kelly's like, why would you bend the knee to this group? Megyn Kelly wants to be a mother figure in this case to Caitlin Clark in a good way, I think.
What they all had in common is that they fundamentally changed the sport, and they brought casual fans into the sport to become lifelong fans of the sport. It didn't matter what the color of their skin was. That's what Tiger Woods did to golf. That's what Caitlin Clark did to the WNBA. That's the sort of excellence that should be celebrated. And it's so weird to me that we had that entire ideology fail at the ballot box a few weeks ago, and now she's like the last one to get the memo. It's crazy.
Yeah,
imagine a world. We got to keep this going because it's like I'm so fired up about it. Yeah. But imagine a world in which Serena and Venus take over tennis, they crush, and the thought pieces that are being written or the comments that they are required to say are, I just want to acknowledge that tennis was built on the back of white people like Chrissy Everett and Martina Navratilova and Billie Jean King. And, I have Black privilege in being here because of my whatever, however she wants to attribute that. It wasn't explained by Caitlin either, exactly how her white privilege got her some more attention in the league. That's the theory by some racists, that the only reason we want to watch Caitlyn is because she's white and we can't stand watching the blacks, but we'll watch the white, which is absurd. She's by far the best. The stats prove it. That's why she's so popular. But in what world would we ever be comfortable saying to these black superstars, you better acknowledge the backs on whose, bodies tennis and golf and whatever white sport you can think of was built? I mean, it's an absurdity. It's racist on its face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the thing that really strikes me, if you think about Time Magazine, it's not, they don't care about sports. It's a religious tract for the left-wing lunacy in this country. And what they care about is driving their politics forward. There are thousands of athletes.
I'm going to read this post on X from Kathy Barnett. Kathy Barnett on Caitlin Clark, basically Megyn Kelly and then Kathy Barnett tag teaming, double teaming up on Caitlin Clark and trying to get her right. But Kathy Barnett has a great take. She ran for Senate in Pennsylvania. You might remember that it was Oz versus Kathy Barnett, and Oz lost to a literal mental midget in John Fetterman. Kathy Barnett was a beast. I really liked her. Oh, man, I should do some more videos on her just to remember that time. I was like, who is this person? She is fire. I don't even know what she's doing right now. But here's a good example of her. Just go back and watch Tim Pool when Kathy Barnett was on there. She was just spitting fire the whole time. Here's what she said. The real problem here is that we must stop deifying these people. Many white conservatives poured all their frustration about Democrats' DEI onto Caitlyn. She spoke for them. Her injuries were their injuries. When she was physically and aggressively pushed back by black athletes, they too were being pushed down. Now this, and they're all losing their mind, her lips are their lips. And her lips are now saying something they no longer agree with. I get it. I understand the frustration. But the message should have always been, shut up and dribble. Back then and now. Stop looking for role models. You're an adult. Be your own role model. I hope this helps for the next person you deify. There's some bars in there because she put in there, it always should have been shut up and dribble. To my knowledge, the shut up and dribble was Megyn Kelly, I believe, that said that. It was about LeBron. I believe it was about LeBron. It took me a long time to understand how base that was. You don't know these politics. You don't know this stuff. Shut up and dribble. Do you see me on the NBA basketball court? And then she said, stop looking for role models. That was a Charles Barkley thing. Kathy Barnett with the final word on that after show carnage. This one is Megyn Kelly just carnaging. I'm going to use that as a verb. Carnaging. Creating chaos and carnage on Caitlin Clark. Let me know what you think.